Hello, and welcome to the South Coast Artists Index, where artists, performers, and writers, as well as curators, directors, and supporters, anyone with ties to the creative community, drops by to introduce themselves to you. We'll talk about their beginnings, their vision, their passion, and so much more. The South Coast Artist Index podcast is brought to you in part by Heavenly Spirits, who invites you to celebrate the art of life and creative communities everywhere. Learn more at heavenlyspirits.com.
Welcome to another podcast, and this one is special. Yes, I've said that like a million times, but it really is because, well, you'll find out when our guest introduces themselves and spells their name, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, hello. My name is Toni Delgado-Green, hyphenated, TONIDELGADO-GREEN.
And you are?
I am the arts and culture editor for the New Bedford Light.
And this is only coincidence that I have this, because this is the last shirt that I had.
Sure, no.
I'm wearing a New Bedford Light T-shirt, which is one of my favorites anyway. Yeah, you know, people think, oh, well, you only do artists. No, we've had people here from their art adjacent. We've had art industry professionals. You know, the people who support the arts and the people who make the arts. Let's keep that really, really simple.
Exactly.
And how long have you been with the Light now?
Since the beginning.
You have been with really?
Yes.
I only tripped over you, seriously, looking for somebody else in the our team page of the website. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I didn't know about you, because there was always like some sort of an intermediary between, like, when working with Devin McLaughlin and what was and will soon be something else, which you can talk about, the New Bedford Light Fine Arts Breakfast Club. And then there was Kopensky's fashion pieces, and then there was David Wallaga, and then there is Don Wilkinson, Chasing the Muse. I might have missed one or whatever, but the New Bedford Light is a huge supporter of the arts, and I know this sounds insane, but I don't think people really realize that. It's like the lights. Everybody just expects them to go on when you flip the switch.
Sure.
But when you flip the switch and they don't go on, all of a sudden it's like, So, why this commitment? I mean, Barbara Rosner brought me on because she heard something and thought it was a really marvelous idea. She's also a painter, which was a great thing. Yeah. And I've got to get a hold of her again. Anyway.
Yeah, she retired.
I know. Yeah, but bring her on as a painter now, which I hope that's what she's enjoying life doing.
Yeah.
So, what is this commitment to the arts with the New Bedford Light?
Well, I mean, we've had a booming art scene, and I mean, obviously, the New Bedford Light does a lot of things. Lots of investigative reporting. And I think too, because Barbara's an artist, and she recognized just how valuable our art scene is, how diverse, and how much it's grown. She just wanted to shine a light on it.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Yeah.
And then there's the other thing too. I think just attitudes have changed quite a bit, because at one time it's like, oh, why are they doing that? Because they have New Bedford Creative, and they have the Artist Index, and they have that. Why people think, ownership only belongs to one entity, and it can't be spread out all over the place, to make it to have more content, to have more viewpoints.
I mean, interestingly enough, I still come across quite a few people don't even know we exist. So, I mean, I try to promote as much as I can. But once they realize it, then, they're followers, so.
Yeah, it's, I went into advertising only because when I was at the University of Miami, I was one of the youngest in my cohort. They had, Stephen Fuller, who designed the Channel 5 logo, which has been up there for over 50 years. He was an art director there, and then Peter Zorn, who had 3 agencies in Pittsburgh, and on and on and on. And they thought, painting is really great, but you're going to have to make money somehow.
Yeah.
So they started teaching me layout design and ins and outs of advertising. And then, of course, because of that, getting involved with media. And the Standard Times was a venerable institution. There's the good, bads, and the uglies associated with it, depending on who the editorial, the publisher was or whatever. And so I got to know that form of media. And it's important. I mean, they've always had someone covering. In fact, I'd love to be able to do a series going back to the arts guys, arts people that used to write for them, because I think it's really interesting. I mean, how much the landscape has changed, and so on and so forth. And then, as you know, print started getting eaten away slowly.
Exactly. I started at the Standard Times.
You did?
Yeah, actually, Andy Tomalonis
Yeah.
reached out to me when he and Barbara were discussing and building the New Bedford Light, or deciding, how this was going to transpire. And he reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in taking on this role.
Wow, because I still remember the old building, and I still remember the new building. Walking in, and there was Steve and Tammy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, right
Yeah.
on the corner.
Yep.
And I all the salespeople. And I think Barbara Miller, she was the co-op lady. So I have fond memories of all of that. But I remember when digital came in, and then they made a big splash about getting into digital. And probably one of the biggest mistakes they made was, once you give away content, you can't get people to pay for it.
No, plus you can get it for free. You can get
Exactly.
news for free. Yeah.
Exactly. So that whole thing started, and then one of the worst things is that the monopoly. I forgot what the name of the act was, but they allowed people to own more than one newspaper, more media outlet, and
Like Gatehouse.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you've ever watched the Frank Capra movie, I think it was produced in '42, called Meet John Doe. Being from media, it put a chill running through you. It's a black and white movie, and at the beginning of the movie, they're chiseling off the staid old newspapers
at that point.
name, and they're putting up this new era, new thing. Basically, this fascists are coming in and taking over, and and so it's a great movie. I've always mentioned that for people to watch. So, for the people who don't know, what do you think are the major accomplishments of the Light so far when it comes to the arts community? And it's not just doing profiles on artists and so on and so forth. There's a lot more involved with it. I just saw a piece by the Italian correspondent.
Ellie?
Ellie, yes, exactly. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
She's not an arts person.
No, but she's a love.
I know. That's my point. Yeah, that's my point. I mean, everybody can get involved in this thing.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the high watermarks that you have had with the Light?
I don't know. That's kind of a hard question. I'm not sure what you mean by watermarks. So,
Well, I mean, when the Light first, you've been there since almost day one, right?
yeah, since day one. Yep.
What was the first art endeavor that you had? The arts and cultures thing that you did?
Well, my main job
Yeah.
is events.
Okay.
I post events. I do write some articles, but mostly what I'm writing about are music that's happening, exhibitions that are happening, things
Right.
like that. So I
Calendar,
manage
yeah.
the calendar.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Then what else started to come on board? Because that now finally became a touch point for a lot of people, because there's just so much, Facebook, it's scattered all over the place. There was really no central location to find that information.
And still isn't. I mean, not everyone puts their calendars out there. Sometimes I have to hunt. I have to, chase and to get information. But it's much different than it was in the early years, because first, of course, we still had remnants of COVID. There wasn't a lot of stuff going on. There was mostly events were outside, so now I'm getting bombarded every day, which is wonderful, with everything, like I said, art exhibits, openings, concerts, family events, theater. This place is really booming.
Yeah, and before I forget, since we're at this place now in this in this podcast,
Yep.
What can listeners do who have events they want to promote through your account? What can they do to make your life easier, to make their event more successful?
Well, if you
Not
go,
not like at the 11th hour and say, hey, by the way, right?
yeah, sometimes that happens, but
Yeah.
yeah,
That's always gonna happen.
I mean, on the website there is, if you go to Culture Calendar, there's a section where you can submit. But a lot of people do that, but some just send them email to me directly. And I think as long as you have a description, time, place, how much, and an image, a decent sized image, I can work with it. I mean, I have to rewrite oftentimes or reach out if I need more. But if they just give me those essential things, it'll move much smoother.
Yeah. Now, you're from Fall River.
Yes.
Okay, we had that discussion on the phone. Not
Yeah,
that that's a
about
bad
food.
thing, but I
Yeah.
think also it's because you bring fresh eyes.
Yeah.
And you have no prejudices.
Right.
It's always done. We did that before. I've still been searching for Famous Amos and his wonderful poster with the light bulbs. I'm going to find it someday. That and the Daffy Duck, not this little black duck episode. I've been looking for those two things. But the Famous Amos thing, it showed this light bulb. A series of light bulbs, like on a grid,
Yep.
and there's a bright light, and then you see these excuses written underneath each light bulb, and as every excuse goes by, the light bulb gets dimmer, until the last light bulb goes out, and it says it was just an idea.
Yeah.
And people used to be so down on, oh, that'll never work. Oh, we tried that once before in 1954 or whatever.
Yep.
It seems like the cultural landscape here, the arts and cultural landscape has changed dramatically.
Right. It's just so much going on.
Is the sky the limit?
Yeah. It's exciting. And that's one thing too I really love about AHA Night, because it kind of opens up, everything's free. All the galleries are free. There's music on the streets. It just really highlights what New Bedford has become.
I know when I first got my first experience with AHA, I was a bit of a snob because I had been there, done that, seen it, rah, people aren't into it, and so I come down like it's 5:30 or whatever, I get a parking space anywhere, because at one time, after leaving graduate school and coming back to the city, I ended up working at Freestones, and I used to tell people we were the only light on in downtown,
Yeah.
because everything else was shut down. It was just a mess. And imagine my surprise coming downtown. I couldn't find a freaking parking space
Yeah.
within, a quarter of a mile or more
Right.
of any venue. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it's really, really taken off.
Yep.
Was that, do you think, a catalyst for the creative community to bring everybody out of their studios, bring them out of the woodwork, so to speak?
I would assume so.
Yeah. So, having been married to someone, previously married to someone from Fall River, and we had this discussion on the phone. It's a whole nother culture there, and there's a different language, even the shibboleths. I'm serious. I'm not being
Accent.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not being snide. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, the ethnic makeup is a little bit more British Isles there, and so on and so forth. I mean, we can't get damn pork pies here, all right?
Really?
But you can get them there.
See, I assume, yeah.
Yeah. See. Yeah. And but my point being is that the art scene there was nothing like the art scene here. And my assumption is that because of the Swain School, we had an art institution in town. It made a big difference. I mean, the Fall River Art Association on Belmont Street was a state-owned organization, but nothing comparative to that. And I think about one of the only rustlings, to use that term, that I remember was the Millbillies, a bunch of a bunch of artists who took up spaces in one of the mills, and they tried to get things going in Fall River, and going back and looking back, I mean, there were a lot of, in fact, one of the geographical points that we want to reach out into is Fall River.
Oh yeah. Have you been in contact with Viva Fall River?
With Tracy and well, Ashley is going somewhere else, and there's another director coming in for FRAC. And Fall River Art and Culture, I think it is.
Arts and Culture.
And but those two, women, it was like this massive breath of fresh air. I mean, I used to be on a board of directors for the Fall River Chamber, the board of directors for the Bounty. That's a sad thing. I don't want to go there. And Fall River Celebrates America was one of the biggest things that they had going. And then there was, but Fall River always had the chutzpah, if I may use that term, to just stick their neck out and say, hey, let's see if it works. Whereas New Bedford was a little bit more reticent about certain things. So the reason why we want to get more into Fall River is because there's still this weird mental wall between both cities. I mean, they're only, 15 miles from center to center?
Yeah, I mean, I interchange them. I know people from Fall River who say they're traveling to New Bedford, and to me that's
pack a
like...
lunch.
That's like 2 seconds away. And, I have a lot of family in New Bedford. I mean, my grandparents landed in Fall River for some reason, but, we have family here, so I don't even consider Boston a big deal,
Right, yeah.
But, a lot of people don't want to go over the bridge, so it's interesting.
And don't forget we had our mayors. It was Mayor Kalis, and who was the mayor at that time in Fall River? Lambert. They met at the overpass on Reed Road. It was like the hands across the water kind of thing because of this disparity between the two towns. But bringing it back to New Bedford, which, I don't know, I'll probably catch flack for it, almost the epicenter of the South Coast creative community, only because
I think so.
Stuff started happening here, bigger, better, faster kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of history here. I mean, there's a lot. Yeah. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Fall River, I mean, they had a submarine base there. I mean, the Naval Yard, they had the
Lizzie Borden.
The Lizzie Borden, yes, exactly, which they turned that's pig's ear into a sow's ear into a silk purse. They had the Fall River line and the Battleship Massachusetts, and there's so much of that, and there's really got to be more encompassing of all that stuff.
And the Narrows is a big deal too.
Yes,
and they have the Little Theater of Fall River too, and I wonder just how many people know about that.
I don't think that many. And Bart Norse, I don't even know if he's still alive, but he started the Narrows when it was on Martine Street.
Yeah.
And that thing, I think like all great things, I don't think anybody could ever show me a business plan. They just did it because they wanted to do it, and it grew.
Yeah, and that place gets packed.
Yes, exactly.
And they have art and music, and I cover those events too.
Yeah. So now that we have the train coming into both cities, what are your thoughts on the train and how it will affect the art and culture scene in both places, positively and negatively, if there is a negative?
Well, I mean, do you mean about people coming into this area?
Anything, yeah. More artists coming in from Boston to check the place out, for example, and say, "Hey, I can get studio space way cheaper here."
Right. Yeah.
And I've just as a quick aside, I've been told on one of the podcasts by somebody who knows this stuff that somebody did a survey, and there are more artists in the South Coast community than there are in all of Boston, Greater Boston.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the assumption is because of real estate prices are a lot cheaper.
That'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll do it. And again, I guess somebody searching is going to recognize what we're doing here, but I just wonder how many people in that direction know.
Well, at one time they used to say that our representatives in the State House, once they got off the bottom step of the State House steps, they were totally lost. As far as New Bedford was concerned, they had no idea. And then what was his name? Carr, the columnist for the Herald.
Yeah.
I can't remember his
Yeah, I
name,
don't
but he
either,
was a
but I don't-
controversial guy.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the armpit of Massachusetts, and
Yeah,
you know,
bad
of course,
rep.
you know, we went through all those. Phases that a lot of failing cities, and cities fail not just financial, but they fail spiritually. I remember people telling me that when they had been away and they came home, as soon as they got off to 24 onto 140, that you could feel the negativity
Really?
instantly,
Wow.
because the city was so down on itself. And one of the reasons why Jeff and I created or came up with this the Artist Index, other than, you know, Mary Jean Blasdale's inspiration, was that I wanted people to know. For example, did you know that the choreographer for Gene Kelly, you know, Singing in the Rain, came from New Bedford. That the artist writer who took credit for, and he was a curmudgeon, who took credit for bringing Jean-Michel Basquiat into the limelight by writing The Radiant Child for the seminal article on Jean-Michel Basquiat, which every artist should really read. In Art Forum magazine was Rene Ricard, who lived in New Bedford. And we can go on.
Yeah, we can go on.
We can
Yep.
go on, and on and on and on, and we've just only scratched the surface. So, you know, we had whaling here. Then we had textiles, because the same people who had whaling figured, okay, the writing's on the wall, we better do something.
Yeah, a lot
But
of
they-
textile in Fall River.
Oh my God! You know, you guys were spinners and we were weavers.
Right,
You know, that's
right.
another thing. But on that note, I still remain amazed that Driffy Tech and New Bedford Tech decided they were going to get together and meet in a cow field in a farm in Dartmouth, in Old Westport Road, and say, we are going to build a world-class university, a very unique university, and hire Paul Ruloff. And, you know, there are people who still hate that architecture.
Yeah.
Brutalism is under, you know, under siege.
Cold.
Yeah. But you know what, to me, I'm sorry, it was like teaching or going to school because when I went to school there, you could still smell the concrete
Oh, yeah.
curing.
My sister went there when it was SMU.
Yeah. I went in when it was just when it turned from SMTI, Southeastern Massachusetts University, to Southeastern Massachusetts University, which we got sick and tired of saying, no, it's not Southern Methodist.
Oh, yeah.
SMU.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the faculty that we had there, one of my painting instructors was the developer of acrylic paint for artists. Another
Yeah, geez.
one, we had the father of American typography, it was Alexander Nesbitt, wandering the halls in his guru jacket, you know.
No, that's exciting.
So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, if you're so down in this area, can you explain these things? Can you explain how these things happened?
And I think it's PR. You know, people don't know. They don't know.
Yeah, and bringing it back to the light. Yeah, you could have endless campaigns about the light, but it's really shining the light on ourselves and looking inward and saying, hey, you know, we live in a pretty cool place.
Yep.
My sister-in-law, when she came over from Detroit the first time, was like jaw drop. But I remember when I told my eldest daughter that I was getting married, and my wife is from Detroit, and I was going to go meet her family, and they're like, don't go, because the PR was so bad.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
But then again, I always tell people that the Peter Paul Bruegel painting of the wedding, they could have gotten out of this bankruptcy and the dark cloud that hovered over them, and the crime, and it really is this weird psychological thing that manifests itself physically. And when they said, okay, we can sell this, and people in Detroit said, hell no. Hell no. And that tells you something about a city. It's the same thing here. That people decided to just pull it together, and I think it's kind of exciting.
Yeah,
so
it's very exciting.
What do you see on the horizon for the light when it comes down to the arts and such?
I mean, again, I'm getting more and more people contacting me, and I think, again, our arts and culture section is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. We're actually talking about changing the setup that we have, because WordPress is acting up, like we have to start getting rid of stuff, so it's just really exploding. And again, I think we're just going to continue, like, as more people hear about us, the more coverage we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do also, in the beginning we were pretty New Bedford centric, but now, again, I have events in Fall River, essentially it's anything that would be of interest to people in New Bedford. So, like, if it's even something in Boston, yet, I don't know, say it's something about Frederick Douglass, or, what I mean? Or some kind of Cape Verdean something, whatever.
Right.
We'll still cover that.
Right.
But I think New Bedford is still at the heart. New Bedford is our main, focus.
Yeah. I mean, when Karen, my sister-in-law, came down from Detroit for the first time, it was like jaw drop. She was absolutely stunned, and I said, it's funny, because when I left, I thought I was going to be leaving. Well, I expatriated, and somehow in the middle of all that, I met my wife. But coming back after being gone for about 6 months, in 6 months' time, I don't know if it was a different perspective or whatever, but it was, what is going on? There's just a vibe that it didn't exist before. And there's so much. I mean, one of our agenda is we want to document the lives and legacies of historical and contemporary artists.
Nice.
And somebody said, well, didn't Mary Jean Blasdale do that? And it's like, yeah, she did, but she didn't, because she told me that given, this is pre-internet, she did what she could do, and if she were younger, she'd jump in with us and be podcasting on her own, probably.
You could do even more, way more now.
Yeah. Now, communities that we have the creative community, obviously, which is a big chunk, but within that community, we have not only disciplines, visual performing, literary, and we've also, it was Don Wilkinson that said, Ron, why did you guys drop culinary? Because when we started off as the artist profiles, we had culinary.
Yeah.
I said, well, because, I used to be in culinary, because, most artists, if you're not cooking, waiting tables or tending bar, you haven't gone to art school, really.
Right.
And I said, so we dropped it because you got to talk to them before 11 o'clock, before they open. And you can't talk to them after 11 o'clock. And by the time you do get to talk to them 12 hours later, they're just so blown out, they have nothing left in them,
Yeah. That's
so,
one thing we don't do.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, and you and I had this conversation, which I don't want to interject right now. Maybe
Yeah.
towards the end if we got, poof out the time, which I don't think we have to. So we have those disciplines, and then we have the genres. Okay, and then another subset is we have communities.
Yep.
We have the Cape Verdean community, which is, oh my God, between photography, jazz. Well, those are two of the biggest ones, and then music in general.
Yes,
I mean,
music.
a lot of other genres in there. Then we have LGBTQ plus,
And we're getting more and more exposure for that as well.
and more acceptance.
Oh yeah.
And more acceptance. And I spoke with Andy Pollock, And I said, we've been looking for underwriters to do a series on LGBTQ plus that not only documents the contemporary LGBTQ artists in these different disciplines and genres, but I want to go back into time and resurrect those that had to closet themselves or had to hide in the shadows or whatever, because it's important.
And
It's
to
really
understand, I mean, if you're not in those shoes, just how difficult that struggle has been.
One of my
Yeah.
I can't even talk about.
That's another
I'm gonna
story.
stop.
I know.
Yeah.
That's another story.
And then in the Portuguese community, one of the inspirations for this whole thing was my mother. She was a father singer, I've been speaking with Paulina and Henry Arruda across the hall at WJFD, and just by happenstance, Dr. Gloria de Sá, from now retired from UMass, from the Portuguese Studies, Portuguese Center, when I wrote the first article for what was then the artist profile, she said, "Ron, you know what you did?" I said, "I wrote an article." And she said, "Yeah, but you did more than that." I said, "I wrote an article about my mother." "Yeah, but you did more than that." I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "Do you realize that she is now the only documented fadista of her generation?"
Interesting. Yeah,
Because of you?
Didn't know. Yep.
So
Lots
that's
of stories
been,
to be told.
That's been a Don Quixote kind of thing. And so we talked about disciplines, we talked about genres, we talked about communities. So now we have the Cape Verdean community, but we have the Portuguese community, but like as Paulina, because women always have seriously believe they cut to the chase, we have the Luso-American, which fits right in there.
Yeah.
And we had, at one time there was Mal Oliveira, there was Francisco Raposo. Well, Mal Oliveira was one of my only private instructor before I went to college. Francisco Raposo, who was with Swain, and he was my high school art teacher.
Nice.
Louis Sylvia, who every building you'd go into downtown had a Louis Sylvia. And there are other people I don't know anything about. So it's really, really important that we, when I was first asked, the elevator pitch thing, "So what do you guys do?" And I said, "We're pyramid builders." And people would look at me like, "What?" I said, "Okay, you asked a question to a guy who used to teach art history. Pyramids weren't built to preserve bodies.
No, that's not.
They were built to preserve memories. It was all about the memory. And that's what we want to
And
do."
all the hieroglyphics. And,
Exactly.
Yep.
So that when they woke up, so to speak,
Right.
in the next realm, it would not be unfamiliar to them. And that's what we want to do. Because there's so many people that have contributed to this world. Just in, I said this to Jimmy Black Sheep yesterday. My 4 instructors at SMU, Ed Tonieri, the developer of acrylic paint, worked with the Bocura brothers down on Pearl Street. Frank McCoy, he was, and they were all faculty members. They had jobs. They were successful painters. They had gallery representation, and they sold work.
Yep.
Show me where any of their work is today. Show me where their stories are today.
I can't tell you.
Yeah, and that's been very, very difficult. I mean, we do have a series that's coming online that Scott Bishop is going to be the podcast host for, because he's got an inquisitive mind. He's also a former DJ, which I'm not.
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah.
And so he's going to be bringing online 10 episodes of Lost Artists of the South Coast.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's perfect.
We have some grant funding for that. And I gave him a list of the obituaries that I've been collecting for a few years of artists that passed. One of them was
That was smart.
Yeah. I mean, because I said, you may be having a conversation with yourself, and that's okay. Because you may be saying, we have this information on Leo Sayer Schwartz, who was one of the Batman artists.
Oh.
And, I've looked around, and I hope somebody out there listening, or somebody out there listening who knows somebody who knew him, would please contact me. So our business model has always been Stone Soup. So getting more people to come forward and talk about the people in their lives that
inspired them.
Yeah. Have you listened to Dave Reese's, or Reis, because
No, I haven't.
some Portuguese words just irritate me in English.
Yeah, it doesn't translate well.
It doesn't translate well. It's like, oh, there's something wrong with your throat. You want some water? Yeah. But what a story. To be growing up in a household. He's not a musician. He's 86, I think, now. Growing up in a household where there were musicians, and they were almost like a hostel for black artists. Because they were only allowed to play at these venues, but they weren't allowed to eat or drink at the bar.
Unbelievable,
Or stay
right?
at the hotels. And this is way north of the Mason-Dixon line.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's what people don't realize.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those stories are so valuable. But then here he is, the walking history himself. And I don't know.
No, it sounds like you have great ideas.
But are they?
Yeah.
Are they? What is the term for that? Will they bear fruit?
Yeah. Do you think people will take interest?
I hope so, because I was just talking with Henrik Hernandez. We've got a major announcement coming up with him, which is going to be a lot of fun. Another level that we had planned on. And I said, Lao Tzu said that luck has nothing to do with success. It's all about timing.
True.
And on a personal level, back around the pandemic, I went from being an abstract expressionist primarily because of my wife saying, I think you've been hiding your emotions. And I said I used to paint in cold blood. These are all my pieces.
Yeah.
They were just like doing musical scales. And she said, no, you got to break out from that. So I did. And the subject matter that I touched upon is not like stuff that you would hang in your house unless you had a direct connection to some of these atrocities that occurred in this country.
Well, that's interesting too, because I started off as an artist, as an art major, and when I was younger, I was constantly drawing, and something weird happened when I went to college. I didn't like being told what to do. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. So it was either going to be art or some kind of writing, and I just figured the writing would pay the bills, and I started interning at the Worcester Telegram and Gazette, and then I started getting into, that type of writing, but that didn't really excite me either. So,
Yeah.
and also what I was coming to, two of my favorite artists are Salvador Dali and Frida Kahlo.
Yeah.
And not everyone's going to identify with
It was
their artwork.
I was like, wait, how the heck did she connect those two? Because they're so disparate,
Yeah, but they touch me in a way. I don't know. There's something very powerful.
She touches me because, my American-born Portuguese mother, who was taken by the family back to Portugal when she was 3. And who, I suspect, I've said this a bazillion times since I suspect that my grandfather was a socialist communist, and that's one of the reasons why they went back. Not because of the Depression, but because of the pressure put on the Red Summer with the lynchings that were going on, and then with the backlash, the Red Scare, as they use that term. And so she was a very forceful woman, and Frida Kahlo, I don't think the story is really, they really haven't scratched her out, there's just so much more there. And of course, she had, Siqueiros, Rivera.
Oh, yeah.
In that shadow, and it's always in the
They made an interesting couple.
traditional male-female relationship in professional circles. There's always that thing. And then one of the things about Salvador Dali, they talk about Andy Warhol. He was the penultimate showman.
Oh, and it's funny, I'm not terribly excited about Andy Warhol. He's just, I don't know.
No, I know what you mean. He was a businessman.
Yeah.
And
just the pop art.
And I don't think he ever tried to be anything else. You took him, and it was interesting. But to Salvador Dali was deeply in love with his wife. Deeply in love with her. And I mean, some of his religious paintings.
Yeah.
The Christ, the crucifixion, is like.
Yeah, and I'm sure that would disturb. Disturbed a lot of people.
Yeah, but it did. It rattled a lot of chains.
Yeah.
But I mean, the biggest problem that we've had. I worked for Ray Basalin, who was the superintendent of art for New Bedford Public Schools back when right after graduate school, and then that's when I started working at Freestones when all the CETA, Comprehensive Employment Training Act money ran out.
Yeah.
And I remember when the itinerant art teachers program began, where there was really no art room with a teacher in it. They're almost like bag ladies with their little shopping carts.
So it could be anybody.
They do 2-3 schools or whatever, visitations. Mm-hmm. And why, even still today, is art considered a distraction or entertainment, but not a core curriculum subject?
Right. It's what's quickly eliminated.
Yeah. So, the Light, its support for the arts. I don't expect you to let any cats out of the bags, but so I'll ask you from more of a personal note. Where do you think we'll be in 5 years? Oh, before I go there, I was talking about timing is everything. My work, people are like, but now because of the political climate, and I had, I spoke with Karen and with Dave a couple of days ago. Mm-hmm. You guys are so overwhelmed by what's going on every single day. It's like another, what?
Oh, yeah, but I'm so proud of the coverage that they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, no, they're not afraid to just let it all hang out there, and it's important. It's very important.
It is. You can't tiptoe around that at all. You can't tiptoe around that. But where do you see where we are now, communities-wise, arts and cultures-wise? Where do you see us in 5 years up the line? Your own personal opinion, not as the art and culture editor.
Do you mean as the New Bedford Light, or just the community?
No, you as an artist, individual. Me. Yeah. Because that would be like,
I mean, I could potentially see myself. I mean, I have all these art supplies that I look at every day, and it's one thing since I've been working for the Light. It's kind of, been sparking an interest again, visiting the galleries and just seeing all the interesting ways that people are expressing themselves is. I mean, I see myself still at the Light. I mean, this is actually, I have 2 jobs. This isn't my only job.
Yeah.
But I could potentially see myself just exploring more my artistic side, because I think this is a good place to do so and to learn from other people.
Yeah.
That I post events for all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm going to ask you another question. And I've mentioned, and when you do these podcasts, you tend to repeat yourself because you're introducing the same material to different people.
Yeah.
And then, and I as I found out, I had an opening last night, and same thing happened. I was explaining, people asking me what's going on here in this particular piece, and I told that story like how many times. I don't remember. And then all of a sudden I had an epiphany. It's like, oh my God. It's like all these other things have been lurking in the shadows and I didn't realize it. And wow, that's going to throw me into a completely different direction. And it happened 2 or 3 times with 2 or 3 different pieces. So,
right.
But we have New Bedford High School. And from what I've been told they're doing an excellent job with their art program there, which is a breath of fresh air.
Yep.
We have the vocational school, who has been doing a phenomenal job. I mean, my friend Keith Francis teaches there, and those kids don't realize how lucky they are to have him as a teacher.
And to have the option to take those courses in the first place.
Exactly. But we have this theater that's falling apart bit by bit, that from a financial, practical standpoint, the Orpheum Theater could really never be restored, because then it would be in direct competition with the Zeiterion, who is doing its best to keep its doors open.
Yeah.
But I see an enormous opportunity there, and that opportunity is, we need to use the old-fashioned term, a junior senior high for visual and performing arts, because the kids that go to comprehensive school and the kids that go to the vocational school, portions of those both two communities, and then other kids at large, probably the dropouts or whatever, their brains, their composition belongs in the environment of visual and performing arts. And the old
That
trope,
would be amazing.
the old trope of, oh, how are you gonna make a living?
People are.
People do.
Yeah.
People do.
are.
And I think parents, I've noticed parents backing off of that a little bit more, saying whatever makes you happy,
Right.
not to, like in Portuguese, deixa lá, because like they figured out you can't win, so just let them do what they want. No, I really think it would be phenomenal.
I think, it's important for people to follow their passions, their passions, their talents, their desires. I mean, of course, be reasonable if you're, somebody doesn't have, the right talents or the right direction. But, I would love to see something like that here. I think would be a great place for that.
And again, we have this fallow, brownfield, whatever you want to call this building, that's in a great position.
Yeah, so you would want to resurrect it and turn it into a school.
And it wasn't just a theater. Don't forget, it had like these kind of retail-y kind of, the French sharpshooters in there. So they had other compartments, to use that term. And it would restore the building, and then the entire neighborhood, because the South End at one time was almost like a summer colony. It was, you had South Water Street, which was a retail center that rivaled downtown proper. And then you just had mostly seasonal kind of homes. There were a lot of French Canadian down there because there's St. Anne's Church and school, which I went to, and the Poor Farm. So that was like at the tip. Don't forget, New Bedford's a terminal city. That's meaning if you drive down through New Bedford, you got to turn around and come back. So the geographic mentality of New Bedford is different from the geographic mentality of Fall River, which is a crossroads city.
Right, that makes sense.
So I'm just throwing that out there once again, because it's going to land on the right ears eventually.
Yeah.
So in your art, in specifically, what is that? We talked about writing, but you said you're looking at your art supplies.
I've always loved drawing people.
Do you?
And I feel like I've always still, when I always look at faces and I look at shapes. I see like, No.
And do you categorize in your head, like, how do you explain it? Almost like archetypical, this shaped face.
Yeah.
You and I have like,
more angular.
Actually kind of weird, the same jawline and stuff. But then you have the people with the oval faces, long faces, the scrunchy faces.
Yeah. Well, I find more angular faces easier.
Yeah. So what is it about portraiture? Because it's a little bit more than just the, it's a little bit more than just the outward. It's a little bit more than just the exercise. Is there a connectivity, spiritual or human or psychological or?
I think I'm always trying to see people. I'm trying to read people. Trying to, I don't want to say get into their heads, but I've always wanted to try to understand, the people that I'm around. Because one thing that drives me nuts, and when people think that they know me so well when they don't know me at all, I try to be sensitive, try to pay attention. You know, like one thing people have told me that I'm a very good gift giver because
That means you pay attention.
I try to pay attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've just, and I like to use pencils and charcoal. I've never been I've never been a painter. I like using charcoal.
Which is
for
all
some
valid.
reason.
I mean, look at
Yeah.
Albrecht Dürer.
Well, you do.
Right? Now, where did you go to school again?
I went to Fitchburg State. I went to RISD for a little while. Went to BCC. Again, kind of jumped around, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Which of those experiences were more favorable to you, or more you got more out of?
Well, interestingly, I want to say at Fitchburg because I got some pretty great internships there, believe it or not. I had originally wanted to go to Northeastern, but the funds weren't there. But, you know, I interned at the Worcester Telegram. I interned at Channel 7. I had some really great art teachers from Harvard and such. So that, you know, people tend to turn their nose up sometimes when they ask me where I went to school, but it was actually a really good experience.
Well, it's like BC. You wouldn't think that BC, for example, Boston, Boston University, that doesn't like pop up on anybody's radar as like a top-end art school. But the faculty that were there
Yeah.
is phenomenal. I mean, we went to go see the John Wilson show a couple of weeks back. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what his background was. I really didn't care. I saw his charcoal drawings, and I was just smitten, to use that old-fashioned term.
Yeah.
We went there, and it was like, oh, my God. And I love the way they curated it because they just had people, and then they had black people, black experience. That whole thing was so incredibly powerful. And I started reading the bio, and I was like, Guyana? I said, Bob, my friend Bob Brodesky, we went to go see, believe it or not, Cy Twombly, which is a whole other story for another day. And we were walking by this gallery, and we saw this thing, Sir Frank Bowling Jr. And I'm like, you ever hear this guy? No, I never heard of this guy. And we walked in there, and I saw these paintings were just, from still the abstract painter in me was like, oh my God, I should have brought a change of pants or something, because this is just unbelievable. And it was just phenomenal. And there's this black man with a white beard, and I'm like, what's a blues singer got to do with any of this work? And then I realized, oh my God, that's Sir Frank Bowling Jr., also from Guyana. And the reason why he was on the video is because he was too ill to make it to Boston to do the opening there.
Oh.
And his work was just
That's amazing.
absolutely exquisite. And the point of that is that it doesn't, if the work attracts you, that's all that really, really, really matters. You know, it just has to pull you into I bring back J. Peterman from the J. Peterman catalog. People want things that make their lives the way they wish they were.
True. It's true.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap this up a little bit pretty soon. What you got to say in general? Any don't forget, this is historic. Not to put pressure on you, but it is historical because, someday your children or your somebody who knew you or somebody who ran across a bio of yours, now they're going to actually hear you. What would you like to tell your I never used this one before. What would you like to tell your future self?
My future self.
Yeah.
That I made I don't want sounds cliche.
No?
That I made some kind of difference, positive difference while I was here. That I my whole life wasn't just centered on my small community, that I was able to impact the wider, branch out wider, and so people, would know, oh yeah, I remember her,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as an artist, my wife's question that it took a long time for me to figure out what was she doing to me. Why was she messing with my head? But she said, would you rather be sustained by your art or supported by it? And I said, can I have both? She said, no.
No,
You can only pick one. Which one would you pick?
probably sustained because I never expected to be supported by it. It was always like an outlet. It wasn't something I did on my own. And I just never saw myself as someone who would be making money doing that, but it was
Right.
always therapeutic for me.
And you know, going back in time, when was that moment? When was that when you realized, my God, I've always been doing this, or I'm the only one amongst all my friends, or whatever. I mean, some of the stories have been like really, really, really incredible.
Well, I mean, even through grammar school, high school, I was always sketching. And then it's actually kind of sad how it just came to a halt. You know, I think life started setting in. I was, again, feeling like, okay, I need to make some choices here. I can't be putting all my eggs in this basket. And, you know, for a long time, it was just hard for me to even get started. I mean, one of my sisters was like, oh, I think you should start drawing. And it's like, I can't just say, okay, I have to feel the need to do it. I have to be compelled to do it.
Yeah, it's not a rote thing.
Yeah, and it's not like it was not always in my head. I'm like,
Right.
gee, I don't know why. You know, why has this gone astray? But it's always been in my head. And I think, I don't want to say less complicated, but I mean, now my son is grown. My parents are gone. I've lost a lot of family. I don't know. I feel like I have even more to express. You know, I have ideas in my head. I just don't, you know, I just feel like I just need to pick up a pencil or something. And
Probably cliche again, you know, but age, experience,
Exactly.
life itself.
life has been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it is, and again, too, I think we're on a loop tape. We don't realize it. If we start to plot out things that have happened to us in life, none of them are really as unique as we think they are. We just keep going. When I was teaching art history, I used to show students what they call the Greek key, which is the geometric Greek key, which has the square corners. And then there was the running Greek key that looks like a wave that falls into itself, rolls back out again. And I really think that's, you know, life is not a straight line. It is that Greek
No.
key. It'll roll back into itself, and then you'll realize that you were ignoring something, or you were forcing something, or whatever it is, and then you roll out to another situation.
Yeah.
And wow, thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me.
I really, really, really appreciate this. And folks, we've been speaking with Toni Delgado-Green, and she is an artist, and she is also the arts and culture editor for the New Bedford Light. And people have asked me, what is that exactly? And I was like, well, it's an online publication, it's an online newspaper, but I don't think people there's no mental tangibility to that. What is it really?
I know. We are very community oriented. We are here to let people know everything that New Bedford has to offer. We're an outlet. We're free, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I think we're very thorough. Again, we're a great place. Artists, you know, visual artists, musicians, actors, whatever. A great place for them.
A great resource.
Yeah, it's a great resource, absolutely.
And Town Crier is a close thing, but that it's only about getting out, you know, announcements and such. But it's journalism,
Right.
and probably that's the word that we don't use all that much, because let's not forget that you can become Secretary of Defense by being a television personality. But again, none of that was news. None of that was journalism. It's just talking heads, and we've, you know, good, bad, or indifferent. The world that we lived in before with Sander Van Oker and Walter Cronkite, those people were journalists.
Big time journalists, yeah.
Big time journalists,
Yeah.
and
I think some people look at that as not the best word, you know, or, you know, when they think journalists, they're thinking, you know, is it, you know, it's not always true what you read, or, you know.
There's a bias or a slant to it
yeah.
because you've got advertisers and, you know, like the Manchester Gazette. I mean, that was like the bastion of republicanism in Maine,
Yeah.
for God's sakes, right?
Yeah. So I think we are true journalists. I think we have great photographers and great writers, and just everyone's curious and on it, very dedicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have the support of people in the community. And,
we wouldn't exist
right.
if we didn't.
I mean, there is another entity or whatever in town that always seems to go to the bleed and lead, you know, and
Right.
I think people are sick of that.
Yeah, we need some positivity.
Yeah.
But we also need to
But
know what's
you're
going
not
on.
Pollyannas, though.
No,
Yeah.
because we tell it like it is. You know, I mean, we give people the information they need to know, but we also we highlight what's positive as well.
Yeah. So, folks, if you haven't didn't follow us from the beginning, one more time, our today's guest was Toni Delgado-Green, and an artist in her own right, as well as the arts and culture editor for New Bedford Light. And thank you so much for joining us. And as I'd like to close out every podcast, take care of yourself and be kind to others. Bye-bye.
Bye.
To learn more about the South Coast Artist Index, visit theartistindex.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Be the artist you believe you are, and let's take care of each other out there.